You know the line from the Piano Man? They're sharing a drink they call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone.
Mm-hmm.
You see, loneliness you can share. You can date all your life.
Yeah.
You're not going to be lonely, you're just going to be alone. Because the one thing marriage is supposed to do is never leave you alone again. It doesn't sound too good, but it never leaves you feeling alone again.
All right, Rabbi Manis Friedman, it is such an honor to have you here. I have to start by asking, of course, you wear so many hats as a rabbi. You have so much involvement in the community and in people's lives and helping people navigate every aspect of their lives. But one thing you have done is you are a relationship coach. And so I'm curious what about relationships, made you want to learn more about them and really help people through them?
It's a long, long story, but it began about 54 years ago uh, when I realized that some of the fundamentals of Jewish tradition are not about religion, they're just about life. And without it, we're missing a chunk of life, and particularly when it came to marriage. Because without a little holiness, marriage is a disaster. It is not a good idea. It's either godly or it's hell. Like, it's not just a good idea. So we started talking about it, and then in 1971, we started this program called Beis Chana in Minnesota, and women from all over the world came for a crash course on Judaism.
Mhm.
And it always ended up being a conversation about marriage, about relationships, getting into a marriage, getting out of a marriage, but that remained a constant. So, speaking to 20,000 women about marriage, you learn something. You also learn what the tragedies are. So, recently, I discovered this shocking little detail that happily married people suffer from loneliness. And that doesn't make any sense at all. How can you be alone in the world when you're married and happily married? So these people would tell me, either the man or the woman would say, I have no complaints, my marriage is great, perfectly happy, everything's, but once in a while in a quiet moment, I feel alone in the world. And it's a terrible feeling. So I had to do a little deeper search. What's missing here? What is this? How can you be happily married and feel alone in the world? Because the one thing marriage is supposed to do is never leave you alone again. It doesn't sound too good, but it never leaves you feeling alone again.
Mhm.
So if you're happily married and that feeling alone, there is some ingredient that is essential to marriage that just isn't there. And that is the intimacy. So functionally, it's a good marriage. No complaints. They get along, they communicate. All the things they tell you to do to improve your marriage is there. And it's not a marriage. They're alone. Alone. Which means that that bond, that intimacy is supposed to produce, never took. So once in a while, the couple will air their differences and complaints and so on, and then say, so do you think we should get divorced? And I'm thinking, maybe you should try getting married.
Wow.
Because you haven't gotten there yet. And part of it is what you mentioned earlier off the air. Do you really want to be a wife? If you're getting married, you really want to be a wife? What are you doing? You don't want to be a wife. You want to be a glamorous woman. Wives are not glamorous. You want to be a husband? Really? A husband? The biggest nerds in the world? No, you want to be a sophisticated, suave, charismatic male. You don't want to be a husband. So why you bother getting married? Oh, right. What is marriage? Forgot to ask that one. Why are you getting married? This young couple come to me and they say, we're very much in love and we want to get married. Would you do the wedding? I said, you're in love? They said, yes. I said, well, then there's no purpose in getting married. What are you getting married for? For love? You already have it. So what is the marriage going to add? Well, it's going to be a commitment. What do you need a commitment for when you have love? You want to commit to staying married even if you don't love? You have no intentions of doing that. So what is the commitment? You promise to love each other forever? That's a ridiculous promise to make. You can't make such a promise. You don't know how you're going to feel tomorrow. You can't promise to love. So what's marriage for? You see, when we don't have definitions, we get ourselves in trouble. So why are you dating? Why are you marrying? Why are men interested in women? Leave them alone. Why are women interested in men? Mind your own business. What are we doing? And where did this crazy notion that a man should marry a woman? Who came up with that?
I have so many questions. My mind is racing. And I want to so badly stick to like what I wanted to initially talk about. But now there are so many new things that I want to ask.
The book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus?
No, but I think I need to read that.
Very popular book at the time. Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. About a 300-page book. I'm not going to read it. Because after reading the title, there's no way you can make sense of this.
Yep.
You're going to spend 300 pages telling you how a man can marry a woman? No. If you're from Mars and I'm from Venus, close the book and let's go home. There's no hope.
You have a point there.
So, what is this marriage thing? Love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage? No, they don't. Stop it.
So, why do people get married then?
That's such a good question.
Because I'm glad that that we're talking about this because and I'm seeing this so much lately. I'm in my late 20s now. Every single weekend I have another friend getting engaged or another wedding to go to, and it seems like it's all happening where, well, everyone else is doing it, so so we need to be doing it too. And I do wonder with so many of these couples, and of course I want it to work. I want them to have a life filled with love and happiness and a marriage that is so strong and works, but some of it just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, well, should they be getting married? I mean, who am I to say? But it seems like, especially in this time in our lives, people just think it's the thing to do.
It is the thing to do. Question is why?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying marriage is wrong. I'm saying that if you don't know what it is, how do you expect to be good at it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why get married? So if you look in the Torah, where all our fundamental wisdom comes from, if you're looking for real bottom line wisdom, what does it say? It says, therefore should a man leave his father and mother, cleave to his wife, and become one flesh. That's all you need to know. Marriage means become one. If you have no intentions of becoming one, don't get married. If you want to remain yourself, living side by side with another person, just pay part of the rent. Don't get married. So, what does it mean to become one? Well, first of all, if you become one with another person, you're never alone. The other person will always be there. You're married. You're joined at the hip. So that's what marriage is. Marriage is a reunion. That's an important detail there. It's not a union, it's a reunion, both of souls and bodies. It's a reunion of souls because every marriage engages two parts of a same soul, divided at birth into male and female, finding each other and reuniting.
Mhm.
That's what we mean by soulmate. Soulmate doesn't mean someone who gets you excited. Soulmate means this is another part of your soul. So you were once one, and you want to go back to that oneness. So it's a reunion on the soul level. In the body level, male and female energies were never meant to be in separate bodies. A total human being, a complete human being, is both male and female. Because when God created Adam, it was male and female. Male and female, he created him. Then God separated them. Delicate operation. And it wasn't a rib. I don't know where that came from. I think that's the New Testament. It wasn't a rib, it was a side, meaning male and female in, in the body of the first human being were like two sides of a coin. One side was male, one side was female. They shared a spine. So the operation was to separate them, give each their own spine, and then heal it up. So even physically, male and female were once one and should be one. The separation was not an improvement. Any separation is going the wrong direction. The whole purpose of the universe is to be universe, to find more union, more connection, more oneness. Any separation is going in the unholy direction. So it was not an improvement. It's not like, we were once one body. Ooh, that's weird. Now that we're separated, we're normal. No. So right after separating the male and the female, God says, now get married and become one. Well, we were one. You separate us and now you want us to become one? What is the point of that?
Right.
So here's where we get romantic. The man and the woman were one, inseparably one, Siamese twins, but back to back. They never saw each other. God said, that's a very intense oneness. Not good enough. So he separates them and says, now become one, but face to face. That is so romantic. That's intimacy. When you are joined back to back, you're very much joined. It's a union,
Mhm.
but it's not intimate. It's not intimate. I don't even know what you look like. Face to face, that's intimate. Now, intimacy means the ability to get past all things and connect to someone. Put aside things and connect to someone. So God says, therefore should a man leave his mother and father, cleave to his wife, and become one. Cleave to her, why? For what? With whom? Irrelevant. The point is, cleave to each other. Anything that you value could get in the way of intimacy. If it's very important to you that your husband be tall, dark, and handsome, that could kill the relationship. Because you don't want him. You want tall, you want dark, and you want handsome. What about him? Well, if he's not tall, dark, and handsome, I don't need him. It should be the other way around. I need him. If he's tall, that's good. If he's dark, that's good. And if he's handsome, that's good. Because then I will have him. A man says to a woman, I want to marry you for your money. You have money, I like money, match made in heaven. Why is that offensive? It is. Why is that offensive? And I ask these women, groups of women, why is that offensive? And they say, well, what's going to happen when the money runs out? Is that your problem? You don't have enough money for the guy you're marrying? It's offensive because if I say to you, I want to marry you for your money, I'm saying I don't want you.
Mhm.
I just want the money. But you're not going to give it to me, are you? No. You're going to demand marriage. So fine, I'll marry you. But I don't want you, I want the money. And that's why if the money runs out, there's no relationship.
Right.
It was always the money, it was never you. You without money is clutter. Get out of my life. Now, why, if I want to marry you for love, why is that any better? I don't want you. I want love. Just give me love. It'll be so nice. But no, you have to have opinions. You have to have personality. You have to have moods. I didn't marry you for that. Just the love. Stick to the love. No love? Get out of the house. I married the love. I didn't marry you. So why do we get married? Because we think we can't have the love without marriage? Well, it used to be you couldn't have the sex without marriage. So did you marry me or did you marry sex? It was a serious problem.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to marry someone? Not for money, not for love, not for looks, not for sex, not for family, family of origin, for yichus. I'm going to marry into a rich family, a famous family. None of that. I just need someone, not some part of someone, because parts are things. Intimacy is a non thing. So if you ask your grandmother, what happens in the bedroom? Your grandmother says, nothing. You say, come on, tell me, I'm 48. I'm old enough. Tell me what goes on in the bedroom. Nothing. That's the right answer. A bedroom? What goes on? There's no what. There's just who. It's just them. So what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. They're going to be one with nothing coming between them. In other words, intimacy means I don't need something to join me to you. I don't need money. I don't need looks. I don't need love. I don't need anything to justify cleaving to you. Because in order to not be alone, I have to have someone, not something. So if I have your money and I have your love and I have your family and I'm still alone with a bunch of things. So what does it mean to marry the person and not something about the person? Take away all the things, what's left to a person? If you ask that question, then you know what the real problem is. We can't get past things. We've become so materialistic. Take away things, there's nothing left. That's very sad. That is real materialism. It's like material or nothing. Everybody knows when your husband is out of town, you miss him. You miss him. Well, what about him do you miss? What do you mean? He is not here. I miss him. Yeah, well, what do you miss about him? Question doesn't even make sense. I just told you I miss him. Oh, so you do know. You do know that there is a him besides all the things, but only when he's not there. As soon as he walks in the doors, take out the garbage. Intimacy means I don't need anything. But without you, I'm not me. So what do I need from you? Not from you. I need you. To do what? To be in my life and do nothing. That way I won't be disappointed. My husband does nothing. Good.
Yeah.
Now you have no distractions.
With all that said, how do you know what to look for or how to assess chemistry or if somebody is the one, if they are the person that you should be with? How do you set aside those things, especially when it's early on and you don't necessarily know someone that well?
Big question. Well, first of all, why are you talking to someone if you have no idea who he is? Don't do that. Didn't your mother tell you not to talk to strangers? It's still true, even if you are 25. What are you talking to strangers for? Hey, you can say hello and be polite, but why are you having coffee with him? Don't ever sit with a stranger. Before you sit with somebody, you want to know family, background, friends, reputation. You don't just pick somebody up in the bar. That's reckless and not very romantic at all. So before you sit with somebody, you already know. Decent people, healthy people, good family, good values, gainfully employed, not sleeping on a park bench.
But aren't those all things?
Yes. After that, you want to meet and talk. About what? You already know all those things. Especially if you follow the traditional path and your parents do all the research and find out everything there is to know about this person. And then you date him? Why don't you just marry him? In other words, what is the purpose of dating? If you already know all the pertinent, vital statistics, why do you need to sit and talk? All of those things you're not going to be marrying. Those things only tell you that this is a person you could be married to. Because if he was ugly, if he had some serious mental problems, if he had some really bad criminal records, then you can't marry him. Forget about it. But if he doesn't have any of that, everything's good, looks are good, family's good, health is good, everything's good. Now you could marry him, but why should you?
There are a lot of people you could marry.
Exactly, just because they're eligible. So anybody can marry them. Why is it you? You sit and talk to each other to find out the petty, silly little things that either irk you, bother you, disturb you, or you find appealing, attractive. The things that no one could tell you except you. But the main purpose is to check out the chemistry. You have to have good chemistry. But good chemistry doesn't mean sexually exciting, because that again is like generic. Good chemistry means how the man you're sitting with makes you feel about yourself. Non-verbally, not with his compliments, just in his presence, you feel comfortable being a woman. And in your presence, he feels comfortable being a man. That is good chemistry. How he makes you feel about yourself. If he makes you comfortable being you, wow, that's good chemistry. And it's not going to happen with every good looking guy. So that's what you're really looking for. Then, in the good old traditional fashion, a man feeling comfortable with a woman means I can see myself taking care of her for the rest of my life and enjoying it. Oh, that makes me a husband, doesn't it? The woman is thinking, oh, this guy, I would trust him with my eyes closed, lean on him, follow him, support him. Isn't that what a wife is?
Yep.
And not the other way around. If you're sitting with a guy and you're thinking, oh, he's so sweet, I'll take care of him for the rest of my life, you're not talking marriage, you're talking adoption.
Right.
You want to adopt him like a puppy. But the woman in you is not going to be content. And if a guy is thinking, wow, she's amazing, I would follow her to the end of the world. Yeah, but she wants a husband, not a stray dog. So it's very basic, very simple, very natural, no magic, no religious ceremonies. It's all real. Now, without God telling us to get married, we would never do it. What for? Any benefits you can get without being married. Came as a shock. You can have sex without being married? Never thought of that. You can have children without being married? Came as a shock. Yes, you can have all the benefits, all the things without being married. So why are you getting married? And the final clincher is, why did God create us in the first place? Again, this is so romantic. God says it is not good to be alone. He's talking about himself. He's like saying, you know why I created you? Because it's not good to be alone. I have everything. I am God. I need nothing. I am missing nothing. But there's just me. And for some divine reason, that's not good enough. It's mysterious. What's not enough about being perfect? What more do you want? You're perfect. Yeah, but it's just me. So that's because you're so perfect. See, perfection is kind of sterile. It's a dead end.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're perfect, you got no place to go. So, what is good about being perfect? Nothing. It's awesome. It's impressive. Is it good? What's good about it? Goodness doesn't begin until there is someone else. Someone else. And in order to be someone else, you have to have free choice. Because if you don't have free choice, you're not someone else, you're just his clone.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot marry your dog, because a dog is just your shadow. Of course, he's going to love you. Of course, he's going to be loyal. Of course, he's going to follow you. But it's not because he can, he must. That's his instinct. So to marry someone means you have to marry someone who can love you, but can also hate you. So you can't marry a tree because the tree can't love you. And you can't marry a dog because the dog can't hate you. You have to marry a guy from Mars. Weird kind of creature who can either love you or hate you with equal ease. That means he's not you. That means he's someone else. That's what you want in your life. Someone who is not you. But we don't want that. We just want the goodies that come with that someone, but we don't want the someone. We don't tolerate another opinion. We don't tolerate another mood. We don't tolerate another personality. Just the money, just the love, just the sex. What is you, I'm not interested in. That's sad. Now, our grandparents, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, grandparents were married and divorce was unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, well, yeah, they were stuck with each other, doesn't mean they were happy. They were happy with each other. They disagreed about everything. So they bickered for 80 years and would never think of getting divorced because their differences were only about things. There was never a doubt that you should be in my life. But why do you have to be like your mother? So we have the opposite. We love everything about the other. We just don't need the other.
Right.
That's where you end up feeling alone. I have everything I need, but I'm alone.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. And I do see the reasoning behind like you could still want to be with somebody and be married to them for who they are and for being like one with them, but then disagree on all these things. So I guess my question is in terms of those disagreements, are there conversations you should have with somebody in those stages before getting married that would help determine first help make sure that like okay this is my soulmate, this is the person I should be with, and then also help set your relationship up for success.
If you're not looking for something, which means you're not looking to make yourself more perfect, then you're available to the other. As long as you're thinking self improvement, you're not available to others. It's interesting that dating has become like a trial marriage. It's way too intense. It's almost an alternative lifestyle. You can date all your life.
Yeah.
You're not going to be lonely. You're just going to be alone. You know the line from the Piano Man? They're sharing a drink they call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone.
Mm-hmm.
You see, loneliness you can share. Two lonely people get together, they're not lonely. But then they go home and they realize they're not just lonely, they're alone, and that you can't share. So if you spend your life dating one man, one woman, but you're just dating, you're not marrying, what's missing? And why is it that after living together for 6 or 7 years, and then you decide to get married, the divorce rate among those people is greater than the divorce rate among people who did not live together? Why is that?
Can I take a guess?
Sure.
Is it because you're hoping that in that time there will be this like light bulb switch of like, oh, I should marry this person, or like that answer would come to you and you wait and you wait and you wait and it doesn't, but then you get married anyway because you think that's what you should do at that point.
Like, might as well. Yeah, that's numbing.
Mhm.
But also, living together for 8 years tells you nothing about intimacy. Then you get married and it's supposed to be about intimacy, but you're not good at that. You're just good at dating. And to make that switch after years of habit of being a good date, not likely to become a good husband or wife. Different talent, different part of the heart, different emotion. It's different. And that's why you never know what kind of a husband a man is going to be until he's a husband. Because before that, he was never a husband. The same with a wife.
What if you become married, he becomes your husband and he's a horrible husband, or you become a wife and you're a horrible wife?
Why? I mean, obviously, the answer is get divorced. But no, first you work on it, you try, you go for counseling, you go for help. Why? Because you know this is your soulmate. So you try whatever you can to make it livable. If it's not your soulmate and it turns out you don't like each other, well, what's the problem? Say goodbye and go home. The tragedy of divorce is that you married your soulmate and now you're divorcing your soulmate. Not just, oops, made a mistake. So, talk about dating. Never date a person for more than 3 months. Never, never, never. Because after 3 months, you might as well be married. So you're no longer dating. You're melting into this concoction that is neither a marriage nor single nor it's horrible. So dating is not a relationship. The person you're dating is a stranger. And as a stranger, you don't share intimate information with them. You don't tell someone you're dating things that even your mother doesn't know. You talk to a date the way you would talk to a stranger. Polite, respectful, non committal. When you're dating, you are being completely and totally selfish. You're just checking him out to see if you approve. Pretty selfish. You shouldn't go there trying to make a good impression, because what do you care what he thinks of you? He is nobody in your life. So if he doesn't want to marry you, that's perfectly okay. So to make it a little over the top dramatic, dating is like window shopping. You have anything I could be interested in? No? Fine, I'll move on to the next window. Nothing personal, nothing emotional, no breaking up, no heartbreak. There's no attachment. You went into a shoe store, you asked for a type of shoe, and they don't have it in your size. Okay, bye. So you go out with a guy, you meet him, you talk to him once, twice, 3 times. No, he's not the guy. Sorry, bye. No heartache. So we have to stop treating dating like a relationship. It's not a relationship, it's just shopping. Now, once you find that this person really appeals to you and all the things we talked about before, then you get married and you switch from selfish to selfless. So when you're dating, it's completely selfish. No need to apologize for that because that's what it's meant to be. So people say, how much do we share? Nothing. You're talking to a stranger. That way, nobody gets hurt. And I cannot emphasize enough the need for a shadchan.
What's that?
A shadchan is a person through whom you communicate with each other. You never give a guy your phone number or your email address. He's a stranger. What are you doing? He shouldn't have your number. And he should not be calling you. He should be calling the shadchan, the referee. You communicate through a third party, a matchmaker, whatever. That way, if after the first date you don't want to see him again, you don't have to tell him. You tell the shadchan. The shadchan tells him, it's so considerate, it's so sensible. No one ever gets hurt. But imagine you go out with a guy, he's having a great time, you can't stand it. And then at the end of the evening, he says, okay, so can I see you again Monday? You don't want to say no.
You don't want to say anything.
You don't want to say anything because you want to be nice. So you hear yourself saying yes.
Yeah, totally. Sounds great.
Then you're in agony
Yep.
for the entire week until Monday. And then you go out on Monday and say, oh, I'm going to tell him. I have to tell him no. I got to tell him no. But he's having such a great time. He thinks it's working wonderfully. And then he says, okay, can I see you again tomorrow? And
Yeah.
it's it shouldn't be that way.
No, I think that's a really good point because are so people are not good at expressing how they feel, and there can also be a situation where, somebody thinks that the date didn't go well. Like they really liked them, but they're like, oh, like there's no way they're going to want to see me again. Like they probably didn't have a great time. But guess what? That person maybe had a really great time and does want to see you again. And so I actually do think that that's really smart. And I think that's why matchmaking does work, because there is that third party there to say, oh no, you actually like each other and are on the same page.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then there's the other possibility. The other possibility is you say, no, I don't want to see you again on Monday. And he says, why? Now, what do?
Right. Awkward.
You tell him, because you're ugly, you have horrible mannerisms, and you make me sick. Now he's in therapy for 4 years. No, can't let that happen. You also can't propose. A guy cannot propose to a woman and say, this is great, I'm so excited, will you marry me? And she says, no. What makes you think I want to marry you? That should never happen. It should also never happen that the woman says, well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm ready to get married. Or what's he supposed to do? Propose? Now he feels like a total loser. That should not happen. So the safest thing, the most considerate thing, the most sensible thing is you're strangers until you're not. And as long as you're strangers, he doesn't have your number, he doesn't have your address, he doesn't have your email. He's a stranger. A nice guy, but a stranger. So until he's ready to put that ring on your finger, you're not in a relationship. But of course, if you have no intentions of getting married within 5 years or so, what do you do in the meantime? Well, in the meantime, you date. No, that's not called dating. That's called trial marriage. That's called practice run. And that should never happen. There are no trial, partial marriages, alternative marriages. If you're not intending to get married within 5 years, don't date. Don't.
Yeah. You're just setting yourself and other people up to get hurt.
Yes. And you gain nothing. You really don't.
Yeah.
Well, at least I'm not lonely. Don't you have other friends?
Yeah.
So I think if we follow the rules, you have a good chance of winning the game.
Of all of the dating and relationship advice that you've heard and that you've given, what do you think is like the number one piece of wisdom that you have?
Don't get married until you're perfect. Because if you're not perfect, you're looking for something, and it's going to be a disaster. You get married when you don't need anything anymore. You don't want to hear about anything anymore. You just don't want to be by yourself. Like God. God was first perfect, then he created us. Of course, we're not going to be perfect like him, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, perfect. Where you feel good about who you are, you feel confident about who you are and the life you've built, and you want someone to share it with.
So if you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you are fascinated, don't get married. But if you look in the mirror and it's like, you again? I already know you. Time for a new face in the mirror. Now you're getting married. So marriage is not about you. It's about being bigger than you. When are you ready to be bigger than you? When you don't want anything anymore.
I love that. Rabbi Friedman, thank you so much for being here. It has been an honor, and this has been such an amazing conversation. Like I said in the beginning, like I have so many things that are now like just spinning through my brain. But I think there's a lot of truth to so many things that you said, and so many ways that we can be setting ourselves up to experience less pain in our search for our soulmate and for the person that we do want to marry for the right reason. So thank you so much for being here. Is there anything that I haven't asked or anything that you're working on right now that you would like to share with everyone?
The male and female identities. I'm sure you know that it's in crisis. It's in the ICU. It's in mortal danger. We need to be healthy males and healthy females. Otherwise, look what happens. So if you want to pursue that topic, people can go online, itsgoodtoknow.org, and look for dating advice, male, female. Look it up. There's so much wisdom in the male and female identities. Just knowing it is a blessing. So check it out.
All right. Rabbi Friedman, thank you again so much. And to everyone who listened, thank you so much for tuning in. And we will talk to you next time.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. That was so, so wonderful.
If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic and you're looking for more information or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. Speaking of good news, there's a wonderful retreat coming up, the National Jewish Retreat, run by the JLI, Jewish Learning Institute. It's going to be August 9th through the 14th in the Miami area, in a 5-star hotel. Best speakers, best lectures, best classes, best accommodations, and best food. So if you have those 5 days free, or any one of those 5 days free, think about joining us. It's going to be great for body and soul. If you put my initials in there, RMF, there's actually a discount. Google it, look it up, Jewish Retreat, JLI. And hopefully we'll see you there.